Hello, good afternoon. My name is Cynthia Stewart, and I am going to be your presenter today. Let me see if I can get my slides shared here with you. All right, so we're going to be talking about some of the most popular scams today, but to give you just a little introduction, my name is, as I said, is Cynthia Stewart. I am coming to you. I am um, part of a team of researchers based at many universities, but I am from Buffalo, New York, and that will be relevant later. I am part of a team of researchers that is looking for ways to apply the latest research to find better ways to help protect people from scams and from all types of malicious activity utilizing technology. We kind of decided that thought that since um, scammers are using technology to be able to reach more and more people at the same time, that we needed to figure out ways to use technology to counteract that, to scale up the intervention. And so I'm going to be talking to you a little bit today about the top types of scams, ways you can protect yourself, but also why we need more than just webinars like this. There are lots of materials out there. There are lots of people doing lectures and webinars. There are resources online. There are web pages. AARP has tons of resources. So does the FTC and the FBI, and lots of other organizations. And so what's different? Nevertheless, the numbers keep going up. And so we started this project, and DART originally meant deception awareness and resilience training, and we were trying to figure out how we could teach people better and what we could add to that. Now, we did decide as we went along that we wanted to change the name. So the name, DART now stands for Deception Awareness and Resilience Tools. And we are developing a couple of tools. I'll tell you more about our solutions at the end if we have time. Um, but the reason I put the name up here is because it's not just about training. That's why we changed what the T means. It's not just about training, and it's because again, it's not just about information. There's lots of information. If it were just a matter of getting information out there, then nobody would get scammed. But there's tons of information. There's tons of people working on this problem, and yet the numbers keep going up and up and up. The number of dollars just for people over 60, the number of dollars lost to scammers just since I have started working on this project 3 years ago has gone up 114%. So obviously, this is a yes and situation. I'm not trying in any way to say that webinars aren't a good tool. They're a great tool. That's why I'm spending time with you today. But this is something where we need additional tools. So what we are trying to do is to focus on those two middle letters, awareness and resilience. Awareness, not just in the terms of let's raise awareness. I think most people are pretty well aware that scammers stealing from older folks is a problem and a big problem. But we want to raise the sort of the depth of awareness, if you will, awareness in an ongoing way, the level of vigilance, so that you are keeping it top of mind. Webinars are great as long as you remember what you learned here today. And hopefully I'll tell you at least a few things that you haven't heard before, but I'm going to be completely honest. Most of what I'm going to tell you today, you've heard before. Most of it is not going to be new. It is going to be refresher. And I think that's valuable too, to keep it, again, top of mind. I do promise you at least one thing that I guarantee, unless you've seen me do a webinar before, that you have never seen before. Because it's not out there in the world, and it was created by a colleague of mine. So we've got a little fun treat later. So scammers are out there. They are they are doing an excellent job of ripping off our older adults, and especially older Americans. Let's see, can I get this to go? All right, but so let's start with that awareness piece. I've got a couple of Zoom polls to try to make this a little more interactive. And I see at least a few of you have figured out how to give me emojis and things. I'm going to confess, I cannot monitor the chat while I'm speaking. So maybe Lindsay will monitor that, and hopefully we'll have some time for questions at the end. But I love the little emojis. But let's make it a little more interactive. Zoom poll number one. When did you last get an email, text, or phone call that you thought was probably a scam? Have you gotten one today? Let's see what the answers, what y'all come up with. We'll give this just a minute for people to answer. So the possibilities are today, this week, last week, this month, or I don't think I've ever seen a scam. Let's see. Do we have answers, Lindsay? What have we got? Can we show the results? There we go. All right, this pretty much confirms what I've seen before. Nobody, absolutely nobody has ever answered, I don't think I've seen one. So we've all seen, right? We are all aware that this is going on. We've seen phishing emails and texts, and we've gotten, calls from people trying to extend our car's warranty. So we know that this is a problem. Let's see. So, and we're trying to create a new type of tool to help older adults recognize and navigate scams. That is, we need tools to help people practice, not just, read about the latest type of scam, but to be able to see real examples and to practice protective behaviors in a safe space. We decided to start with older adults because they are the most targeted group. And they are the older Americans over 60 are targeted more than any other demographic in the world by an order of magnitude. That is at least 10 times more than the second most targeted group. They are targeted for a number of reasons, and there's lots of, I'm gonna go too far. There are lots of reasons put out there to explain why that is true. People will say it is because they didn't grow up with the internet, so they're not as familiar with it. That's certainly true. I didn't grow up with the internet, so anyone older than me certainly didn't grow up with the internet. They are a different generation. They don't feel, it doesn't feel polite to just not answer the phone or to hang up on someone. You've also got the early sign, early onset of just the memory and other cognitive decline that comes with aging. All of these things are put out there to explain why older adults lose more money to scammers. I want to particularly debunk one, and that is that idea that older adults are more vulnerable. The idea here is, well, because for all of this variety of reasons, they're not digital natives, et cetera, that they're just more vulnerable to scammers. And that is actually not true. The latest research shows that the groups that are most vulnerable to scams are actually millennials and Gen Z. They are the so-called digital natives, the kids who grew up with this stuff, who grew up with a smartphone in their hand. And it may be, there's further research needed to prove why exactly this is, but it may very well be that the fact that they live in this environment means they are too trusting of it. They aren't sufficiently skeptical. But I want to bust that myth that somehow older adults are less capable than others. They are our wise elders. They do have a lot of skills that they bring to this situation that can help them, but they are more targeted. They're more targeted because they have more accumulated wealth. If I target somebody who's in their 20s, they very well may fall for it because that generation falls for lots of things, but I'm not going to get very much money because they haven't had a chance to earn very much money. Older adults have a lifetime of savings that can be targeted by scammers. The other difference is younger adults might fall for a scam. They may lose a significant amount of money, and that may set them back on hitting their life goals. They may have to wait a few more years before they can make a big purchase, a car or down payment on a home, but they're going to get that money back. They're going to be able to make that up. Someone who is older may never recover from the loss. They have more to steal and less ability to bounce back from a loss. And so this is why we started with this group. They are not behaviorally more vulnerable, but they're more targeted. And if you shoot enough arrows in a particular direction, you're going to hit something. And the technology is allowing scammers to target people in volume and in ways that the scammer doesn't have to, can only interact with the people that are susceptible, the people who respond to the initial thing. So all of us who you get a phishing email and you just delete it, the scammer spent no time on that. They only spend their time on the people who respond. So just to give you a little bit of some numbers to put with the scale of how big this problem is, just to underscore this a little bit. These numbers are from last year. 2023 was 10% higher than 2022, but that's the difference between $3.1 billion lost and $3.4 billion lost. And that is just people who report it. That is just people over 60 and the ones who reported it to the FBI. So I think you can safely multiply that number by 3 or 4 times to get an approximation of the actual amount of money lost to scammers. You can see that the average loss, that's a significant amount. That would be hard to recover from. So that, again, this is why we started in this. But the numbers themselves do not really tell the whole story, because there's also the human side of this. And so I want to tell you a story. This is Peggy. Peggy is a real older adult. She is a real person. She is a person I've spoken for this week. Peggy is a retired nurse. Her last position before she retired, she was running an assisted living facility in California. And one of her victims was targeted by a scammer. It was a grandparent scam. She did not know the name of it at the time. Luckily, Peggy was able to intervene. She was able to get in touch with her resident family members to stop her from giving away her money. So the scammers didn't win in that situation, but it really shook Peggy's confidence. She was scared, and she felt that she was in charge of this unit. She needed to train not just her residents what to look out for, but her staff, how to intervene, how to help people. And she didn't know where to start. And she didn't have time to go become an expert on this on her own. We need tools for people like Peggy, people who have those mentoring roles in their community that others look to for support. Maybe you're one of those people that your friends always come to when they've got a question or a problem. We need tools for you so that you can stay informed on what scammers are doing and what the best ways to protect yourself and to protect others. We need ambassadors of good knowledge. And we need our ambassadors to be knowledgeable. So let's have another little interactive moment. Let's go Zoom poll number 2. Have you or someone you know been the victim of a scam? And then if you want to answer the second question, was it you? You're anonymous here. I can't even see your faces, so please be honest. Have you ever clicked that link? I have. Luckily, so far I've been lucky and nothing terrible has happened. But do you or someone you know has been a victim, or have you been the victim? And I'll let Lindsay share the results when we get some. All right. So yeah, about 25% of you, and yeah, 71 know somebody, and 25%, so about a third of those, it was them. It's widespread. My point with this poll is to show that anybody can be scammed. It's not something where when you meet the victims of scams that they are people who were uninformed, somehow ignorant, low intelligence, low education level. In fact, if anything, it's quite the opposite. I have talked to a lot of victims, and they tend to be very well-educated folks. In fact, they know what to do. So many stories I have heard have ended with, and then I hung up the phone and it occurred to me to check it out, but then it was too late. So it's anybody can be scammed. Every person on my team has a personal story, either from themselves or a close family member. There is no amount of education or innate intelligence that it's going to make you just too smart to be scammed, because scammers have been doing this for centuries. They have been honing their craft since as long as people have been. My husband is a biologist. He will tell you that scammers have actually been honing their craft since before Homo sapiens. Other primates lie to each other. And so we've been lying as long as we've been human beings. Um, and we've always used the latest technology, since the latest technology was the printing press, right? After Gutenberg printed his Bible, the next thing that went on the printing press was propaganda. Scammers have been working on this. They know what to do. And in the last 20 years, they've become really well organized. It's no longer, well, there's still the few small time scammers, but now it's really international organized crime. They have playbooks, they have scripts that they read from. So it's like a choose your own adventure. If you say X, they'll turn to page 23 and they know what to say to you to make you doubt your own judgment and start to believe their story. So there's no reason, if anybody can be scammed, there's no reason to feel embarrassed if you were the victim of a scam. There's reason to be angry. There's a reason to try to share that story. And I'd like to encourage you to share your stories. You're welcome to, share your stories with somebody. Share them with us. If you want to come to our website and share the story, we will change the names, but to protect the innocent. But sharing your story helps people realize that they are not alone, and that they don't need to be embarrassed. The scammers count on us being embarrassed so that they can continue to play these tricks. If you tell your friends, then the next time when they see it, they go, oh, wait a minute, I've heard about this before. And their brain clicks in before their emotions do, and you might have saved them from falling for the same scam. So destigmatizing is another thing that I'm really big on. All right, but we need our agents out in the field to be well informed. So let's get to the informational part of this webinar. I'm going to talk to you about the 3 most common types of scams targeting older adults. Identity theft is when your personal information is stolen and either used to steal your money, or they can use your information to go steal resources that you are entitled to. So if you are thinking, I'm not rich, there's no point in a scammer targeting me, what would they get? Well, I got news for you. As long as you've got a good name and a good reputation, you've got something that they want. They can take out loans in your name. They can take out credit cards in your name. They can commit crimes in your name, putting you in the position of having to prove yourself innocent when the evidence says that you were involved. Grandparent scams are when a scammer will pretend to be a grandchild or some other relative who's in some sort of an emergency situation and they really need your help. Please send money, usually in some untraceable form. And a romance scam is when scammers try to start a relationship with you. And then it can go a number of ways. We'll talk about the different variations that can take. But I want to point out here, a lot of people will go, romance scams, I'm happily married, I don't need to know about that. Well, they don't always, it's about a relationship, but it's not always a romantic relationship. Sometimes these are friendship scams that they will, you're lonely and suddenly your new best friend shows up that shares all your same interests. Also, even if you aren't in the market for romance or new friends, you've got plenty of friends, I bet you know somebody who is, and that you can then help them recognize whether the people that they are interacting with online are real people or people who are just out to hurt them and steal from them. All right, let's dive into this. Oh, another thing. We kind of have this image in our mind that scammers are, the hacker in the hoodie in a dark basement somewhere, but that's not really accurate. Scammers can be anybody, and they tend to be people that you trust. So they won't look or sound like that stereotypical scammer. They'll use that trustworthy persona to build trust. They're con artists. It's just that back in the day, con artists had to meet their victims in person in order to steal from them. And that's why back when, before we had all this digital media, it was mostly the rich who were targeted by con artists. Because if you had to meet people in person and cultivate that kind of a relationship, it needed to be worth it. It needed to be a big score. But now scammers are hiding behind screens, and they don't They can target lots of people at the same time. So even if they only get a smaller amount of money from each victim, it was worth their time. Okay, so identity theft. This is when your personal information is stolen and used against you in some way. Now, I have here a list of some examples of personal information scammers might be out for. This is by no means an exhaustive list, but these are some of the obvious ones, and some of them, it's obvious why they would want them. If somebody has your full social security number, it's like the golden key to most anything. Also, but other things, less obvious, your family relationship information. Why would a scammer want to know what your children's and grandchildren's names are? Well, they can use those for other types of scams. So they steal your personal information and then can use that for a grandparent scam. One of the ones that everybody always asks is when institutions are wanting to check your identity, often they'll ask for your mother's maiden name. If you've ever wondered why they ask that, it's because it's something that you are likely to know, but it's very difficult for someone who is not a member of your family to go figure it out. So it's something that's easily, you can remember it, and it would be hard for somebody to find out. This for personal information, it's also important to know the scammers are usually looking for just little bits of information to fill out the information they have on you. A lot of this information is available already. I mean, it would be pretty hard to go through your life without sharing your name and your birthday with people. There's probably a lot of people who already know those things about you. They may even have shared them on social media. It could be out there for strangers to find. But just because information is out there about you is not reason to not try to protect any information that's not always out there. Scammers are looking for that last little bit that will help them answer those questions to get into your bank account. So protect all of that personal information. Don't share things on social media, but also remember that other people are sharing about you on social media and you don't know what they're sharing. So just because somebody seems to know a lot about you doesn't mean they know you. Doesn't mean you don't need to verify that you can just trust them because, well, you don't remember meeting them, but they must know you. That's not necessarily the case. What scammers want from you? They want your money. They want to make purchases on your credit cards, but they also can take out loans in your name. And if you are not checking your credit report on a regular basis, you may not even know that they've done that. So they'll take out loans, they'll take out credit cards, they'll buy a bunch of stuff, they'll leave you with the debt. They can even open utility accounts in your name. In places like Buffalo, that can be a big deal because I'm telling you, heating in the winter can get expensive. They can access your medical benefits. This is something we often don't think of, but if they can get your insurance numbers, they can access medical benefits. So if they don't have insurance, they go pretend to be you, get what are probably very expensive procedures, and leave your insurance company footing the bill. You may then find that you've reached your maximums for the year and you cannot get the care you need. Even more dangerously, if they're getting prescriptions or medical devices or medical procedures in your name, that messes up your medical records. So then when you do need care, you may not get the care that you need because doctors look and think you're on medications or that you've had procedures you have not had. And so they alter your treatment in ways that are not ideal for you. They can steal your tax refund. This is, file your tax return before you do and get the refund sent to them. They can start businesses in your name, take the profits, leave you with the tax debt. And all of this damages your good name and reputation, which is what they were wanting to steal from you in the first place. Financial identity theft is the one we most know about. Whoops, hang on. Went forward too fast. There we go. This is the one we think of. This is opening credit card bills, opening credit cards, getting loans. Things you can do to protect yourself. Always check your mail. Be aware of some of the old school ways people will get information is just reroute your mail or steal your mail. Not everything has to do with digital technology. So if If you notice that your mail has stopped coming, look into that. Check out with the post office, because they could be rerouting your mail. And if they reroute your mail, they've now got your credit card numbers. They've got your medical insurance numbers. They've got all of this information on you. Always check your bank statements and your credit card statements. Again, I told you this was not going to, a lot of this was going to be information you already know, but check them carefully. Check those explanations of benefits that you get when you go to the doctor. Look for charges for procedures or supplies you didn't get. And you might get the bonus from that of catching things that, yeah, you did have that doctor's visit, but they're padding the bill. If you notice things like, if you get calls from credit collectors or bounce checks, that's pretty obvious. You're going to notice that, but you're not going to necessarily notice if there are credit cards in your name or loans taken out in your name. You may not know when you go to buy a new car why you were denied the loan or charged more interest than you were expected, because you don't know that your information has been used to take out other loans. You've got to check your credit, your credit reports. Those are free. You can even freeze your credit if you want to. With all three credit agencies, go in. It's free. It's simple. You just request to freeze them. That means no new credit lines of credit can be opened until you go back in and unfreeze it. So if you then need to, say, buy a new car, then you have to go in and unfreeze it when you apply for that loan. But that keeps that from happening in ways you don't know. If anybody calls you that is fishing for information, they say they're from your bank, they say they're from your credit card, we're at the bank and there's been a security breach and we need to verify your information so that we can reconnect you with your accounts. Don't give them information. Right here, Alec Baldwin is telling us what you got to do. Thank you for this warning. I'll call you back. And then you go and you look up the number on the back of your credit card or your debit card, or or you find the local branch of your bank and you call their official number and say, hey, I got a call. Is this true? Never give personal information to somebody who contacts you. If you didn't initiate the contact, don't trust them. It's a scam. Tax ID theft is a specialized form of identity theft. You will get a letter from the IRS. You may get a letter from the IRS inquiring about a tax return you didn't file. This is a good thing to note about the IRS. They are old school. They use snail mail. The IRS will always initiate contact through a paper letter through the US Postal Service. So anybody calling you about not paying your taxes, or there's all these fines and we're going to send the police, anybody calling you saying they're from the IRS or any other government agency is a scammer. Hang up on them. The IRS will never call you. No government agency is ever going to call you. The IRS will send you a letter. If you do get one of those, and if you call them to report a problem or you have some sort of an issue and you initiate contact with the IRS, they're going to follow that call up or that email up with a paper letter to confirm it was you. If you get a letter from the IRS about a call or an email and you didn't make that call or email, then you need to contact them and let them know that whoever contacted them was a scammer and was not you, and make sure they haven't messed anything up. These are some other ways that you receive a notice claiming that you owe additional taxes, or that collections actions. Again, go to the IRS website, irs.gov, find the official number, call them yourself. Never call the number that is provided to you. Never click a link, never call a number that is provided to you, because then that just ensures you're going to be talking to the scammer. Let's see. Hang on, move my windows around. And that brings me to top tip number 1. Scammers use our emotions to get us to act without careful thought. That's what they're trying to do. Like I said, they have their playbooks for thousands of years, and they're trying to short circuit from the rational part of your brain to that emotional part of your brain. You always have time to stop and think. No matter what the situation is, if it's a real situation, you have time to stop and think and check it out. So don't let the initial scare get you to act impulsively. Why do scammers impersonate the IRS so much? Because at some level, we are all afraid of the tax man. We are all afraid we've made some mistake somewhere and they're going to come get us for money we did not know we owed. The tax code is so complicated, it's easy to believe that an innocent mistake has led to, some, fines and interest. And so we're scared of that. But don't let them make you scared. If feel the emotion and know that that's a sign of a scam, and you always have time to check it out. Don't let them play on you that way. Medical identity theft. I've touched on this already a little bit. People will, this is increasing in frequency, and it's hard. This one's hard to detect until after the fact. It's hard to prevent it. People will go and get medical services and using your Medicare, Medicaid, or private insurance information. And you may not hear about it because if insurance pays it, you may not hear about it, but you need to check those explanations of benefits. And even if you're thinking, well, if the insurance paid for it, it didn't cost me anything, it can cause problems for you down the line. And Medicare fraud is huge and causes problems for all of us. It makes the cost of medical care go up for everybody. You can end up with a debt you don't owe if they've got things that aren't covered by your insurance. You can find that you've reached your benefit limit and suddenly you can't get the care, your insurance won't pay for the care that you need. And as I mentioned, it messes up your medical records, which can be extremely problematic for you. One form of Medicare fraud that's showing up a lot these days has to do with medical devices. If you start receiving shipments of medical devices that you don't need, or just multiples of, maybe there is something that you order, but suddenly you're getting a ton of it, that is, and you're thinking, well, I got something free. This can still be fraud because what they're doing is they are overbilling for things that aren't needed and just cashing it in. It used to be that it took a long time to like forge one of those claim forms. Now with ChatGPT, scammers can make 300 fraudulent claim forms in 60 seconds, mail them out to all different doctors, and it's very, very hard for law enforcement to keep up with. So keep an eye on what's being charged under your number to protect yourself. Okay, I feel like I've been lecturing for a while, and that is, that's fine when I'm talking to college students. But grown people, let's see if we can mix this up. Let's see, and I'm having trouble with this little window keeps getting in my way. I'm going to move this down out of my way. All right. Let's do personal information. Let's do a summary. Personal information. Shred things. There's nothing here to see. Remember, I mentioned scammers can steal your mail. They also still go through your trash. So shredding your information, blacking out numbers before you shred them, all of that helps keep you safe. Somebody calls you that you're not expecting and faces you with either something really good, you've won the lottery, or something really bad, we're sending agents to your home if you don't give us money right away. Whatever it is, don't let them play on your emotions. Tell them you'll have to call them back. And then if they give you a phone number, do not use that number. Look up the number through ways you know are reliable and call back to make sure whether there even is an issue. What about text messages and email? This is how we get a lot of these phishing messages. Here's a couple. Alert: for security reasons, your account has been temporarily suspended. Click this link to verify your information. Wells Fargo, a little more specific, your account has been temporarily blocked. So they claim there's a problem, but they're not really providing any specific. If there was really a problem, it would be you would get much more detail. Also, real companies are not going to ask you to click a link. The messages feel vaguely threatening. If you don't do this right away, bad things are going to happen. They fail to demonstrate that they're from official sources. The first one doesn't even say who it's from. The second one claims to be Wells Fargo, but it's not giving enough information about what's going on for you to verify it. And they urge you to click a link. Now, these are both unsecure links. It's HTTP instead of HTTPS. I'll say more about what that S means in a minute. But if it has anything to do with money or your personal information or any kind of an account that you use your information to log into, never use these. HTTP is not safe. The S indicates that the site is encrypted, which means that the information is a little bit more secure. Not completely safe, but the transmission from you to the website is at least secure. Even if this were HTTPS, this is a weird URL. It's clearly been shortened. Real URLs tend to be much longer, and you shouldn't see any typos or misspellings in these kinds of messages if they are legitimate. These are all red flags. How about this one? Now, this one is the opposite. It's not threatening. In fact, it's the quite, the reverse. You won $1,000 Walmart gift card. Well, that by itself is fishy, right? Walmart's not going to give away $1,000. That is not in their business model. It feels too good to be true. Again, it fails to demonstrate that it's from an official source. And it's urging you to click a link. And it is, once again, you're not seeing that HTTPS, you're seeing a shortened URL, all of the other red flags. So whether they're promising you the world or threatening you with dire consequences, do not click links in unsolicited messages. Just like you're not going to call the phone numbers, don't click the links. Those links might, if you click the link, what would happen? They would take you to a website that looks very, very realistic and ask you to sign in and verify your information. More about that in a second. You might get an email like this from Netflix. Scammers are very good at copying things that make them look very official. After all, they're criminals. It's not like they are going to respect Netflix's trademarks. So they're going to rip it off. They're going to rip off their logos. They're going to rip off their design. It looks very official from Netflix.com. But Netflix.com is not an email address. So that's our first red flag. We know that's a website. That's not an email address. Email addresses will always have this @ symbol. Well, this is a feature that a lot of email programs have started adding to make it easier for us to tell who's contacting us, because people sometimes have very, strange email addresses that don't look like their name. So it'll tell you who it is. If there's somebody in your contact list, it'll substitute their name for their email address. You can get it to show you, though, what's the real email address by clicking right there. And then sometimes it'll show like this, sometimes it'll pop up, depends on your email program. So it says it's from Netflix, but when we show that, it actually says it's no reply at ripnet.com. That is not what we'd expect a Netflix email address to look like, right? You expect that to be something customer service at netflix.com. If you really wanted to figure out, what that should be, you can go to netflix.com, look around for anybody's email, and that'll at least tell you what format they put their emails in. If you really want to confirm it, you're still not sure. So it says it's from Netflix, but it's not from a Netflix email account. It's very generic. Hi, dear customer. That's a red flag. Does it necessarily mean it's a scam? No, sometimes you just send out a mass email and you put a generic greeting, but best practices for businesses is to customize it and have your name there. So a generic greeting is a red flag. They make a suspicious claim. We're having trouble with your billing. And that right there is a suspicious claim. They want you to click a button. Clicking a button is just like clicking a link. And you can often hover over the button and it'll tell you what URL the link goes to. If you click this button, it would take you to a website that looks very much like Netflix. And I am all certain that it would not really be Netflix. It would look for all the world like it, but it's a phishing website. You would go in, you would log in, and now you've given them your Netflix username and password. You go in to verify your information. Now you've given them your credit card information because they've asked you to update your billing method. This is not how real companies operate. If Netflix really had a problem with your billing, they might send you an email, but they wouldn't ask you to click a button. They wouldn't give you a link. What they would do is say, please go to our website, log into your account, and update your information. Unless you navigate to their website on your own, you don't know for sure where you are. So always, just like with the calling back, go to the website yourself. All right, this one's a little more ambiguous. the note from Bruce Staten. So it says so we're going to assume for this that Bruce is one of your friends. He's somebody in your contact list, but you know that it might not be. So you click to see what is Bruce's email address. All right, that looks a little weird, but maybe Bruce is one of those people that has a weird email address. It could be Bruce, so maybe it is Bruce's email address. That still doesn't mean it's from Bruce. Maybe somebody has hacked his account and is sending out emails to his contacts. So we need to look more. There's no greeting. Again, another red flag, generic greeting or lack of a greeting. But then again, maybe that's just the way Bruce is. Maybe, who knows? It's inviting you to look at pictures from his latest vacation. And you know, Bruce just did go on vacation. So you might be tempted to click that link. Photo sharing sites are a real thing. It is trying to make you recognize, though, that this is trying to make you feel an emotion. In this case, it's trying to make you feel curious. So can't tell one way or the other from this. My recommendation, if you've got something like this that is ambiguous, you can't be 100% sure, call Bruce, call your friend. I would say, meet him for coffee. Look at his photos together. Get the stories. That's a whole lot better than looking at somebody's vacation photos without them telling you why it's significant. And it's a lot more fun. So anybody trying to get you to click links, don't click links. I know I'm starting to sound like a broken record. And there's a reference that only older adults will get. Younger adults would look at me funny. All right. So what can you do? We've been over a lot of things here, right? Only carry what you need. I did not know this. This is before my time, but apparently they used to advise people to carry their Social Security card around in their wallet. Okay, that's bad advice. Don't do that. When was the last time you needed to show your Social Security card to anyone? I've only ever had to produce it when I went to get my very first passport, and sometimes when getting a job. But once I got my passport, I didn't even need that for jobs. Just take the passport. Leave it somewhere safe and check it periodically to make sure it is still in that safe place. Somebody hasn't snatched it. But do not carry it in your wallet. Only carry what you need. If you've got multiple credit cards, but you don't use them regularly, don't carry the ones you're not using. Only carry what you need. And so that they can't you lose your wallet, you've lost the minimum stuff. One thing you might do is take everything that you do regularly carry in your wallet, put it on a photocopier, photocopy the front, photocopy the back, keep that somewhere safe so that if you do lose your wallet, you know what was in your wallet and you've got all of those phone numbers to call and cancel all of the cards before somebody can use them. Personal information, shred it. We've nothing to see here. We said that. You get on unsolicited phone calls, they'll have to call you back. And we talked about all the red flags for emails and text messages. I'm looking at the time and realizing I need to speed up. So, all right, top tip number 2, really a variation on top tip number 1. When in doubt, check it out. If it's a problem money can solve, you have time. There's never a bad idea to just independently confirm that communication is legitimate. Okay. Pause for a few things I'm going to call advanced topics. We all know that we need to have important and have secure passwords, and yet to this day, these are the top 20 passwords. So here's my poll question. Have you ever used one of these? Are you still using one of these? Give that just a second for people to be honest. Nobody can see you here. You're anonymous. If you're not sure why some of these are easy to guess passwords, put your hands on a keyboard. It'll make sense. All right, let's see what the answers are. All right, everybody had a chance to vote. Let's see what we've got. Anybody? Yeah. All right, I would like a chance, if you are still using any of these passwords, to convince you not to do that and give you some ideas how you can be safer in a way that is manageable. All right, so this table, I know there's a lot of boxes, but let me explain this. Across the top, these are ways that you can make passwords harder for scammers to guess. Number of characters, using only numbers, using lowercase letters, uppercase letters, using a combination, and using a combination with symbols. If you are in any of this red zone with your passwords, It basically takes absolutely no time with technology for a hacker to hack into your systems. If you go just a little bit more complicated, you go from barely an inconvenience to hours of time that it takes them. So this goes to seconds, minutes, and hours, just with a little bit more complexity. Just a little bit more complexity, and you take that up to years, up to 49 years. And then if you really want to be safe, you can go with long, complicated passwords. If you go for an 18-character complex password, 6 quintillion years for a scammer to break your password. So that may be more security than you need. That may be more than seems manageable to you. It's up to you how difficult you make it for scammers. I tend to like to be somewhere in this at the high end of the blue range, top of the green range, make it very difficult, but not make it so hard that I can't keep track of my passwords. All right, so how do you keep track of those passwords? Because I can almost hear you going, yeah, we know we need complicated passwords, but who has time and who can remember them? And we need to change them often. How do you do that? All right, so I'm going to give you 3 possibilities for choosing and remembering passwords. 1, pick a book that you keep near your computer. Pick a random page and take the first letter of each line. That's going to automatically give you capital and lowercase letters. Pick however many letters you want. You can even make a sticky note that says, okay, page 33, that's my Amazon password. Substitute a few numbers for some of those letters, and you go from 4 years to 38 years for them to guess it. Substitute a couple of characters in there, and it goes to 356 years. So you get very, very secure, very fast. And you can even leave this note of where your passwords are on your desk. As long as you don't put the name of the book and you don't keep the 2 together, nobody's ever going to know how to translate that into your passwords. Another way, pick a favorite phrase, maybe a lyric from your favorite song, and again, take the first letters. And a same thing, take the first letter of each line and substitute numbers, substitute symbols. Finally, random words. Take 4 random words. Even if you just have decently linked random words, even without many substitutions, you make a long password. I made it 4 4-letter words, 289 years. Now, with something like this, you are probably going to have to keep a list somewhere, which is a risk if you have people coming in and out of your house, but it's not as risky as having bad passwords. So find a method that works for you, but make better passwords. Okay, phishing sites. This is just an example of how they will make, if you click on links, you end up at a site that looks really, really real, but it's not quite right if you look at the URL. And so if you put your information in here, you're giving it directly to a scammer. Now, notice one of the things I said to look for was that HTTPS. But if you're putting your number, you're giving your information to a encrypted site that's owned by the scammers still have your information because they run the site. They can be really tricky on making those URLs hard to distinguish. Can you notice the difference between these two? If one has a character in another language, can be really hard to spot, especially in that tiny type that's at the top of your screen. So don't rely on being able to spot bad URLs. Just don't click links. If you have a question that there's something wrong with your Amazon account, go to Amazon yourself. And that encryption. How do you know a site's encrypted? Sometimes that HTTPS doesn't show up because browsers are starting to erase that and only show you if it doesn't have it. You might also see a little shield, or you might see a little lock. All of that means the site's encrypted. Now that means it is encoded. Data is encoded from when it goes from your computer to the computer running the website. So only the person owning the website gets it. If anybody hacks it in between, they get gibberish. That's a good security feature. It's important if you're sending information, personal information to a site. But like I said, if you're going to a phishing site, it doesn't matter because they're running the site, they've got the encryption key. So don't click links. Okay, real fast, grandparent scams. Go with something like this. You get a call in the middle of the night and somebody says, hey, grandma, or hey, grandpa, and you automatically fill in the name of your grandchild. Or they may have done their research and know the name of your grandchild. And then they say that they're in trouble. They've been in a car accident. They've had a medical emergency. They're on spring break in Cancun and got arrested. Something bad has happened. I need money to get out of it. Please don't tell mom and dad, they'd kill me. And that makes you feel loved. You're the one that they trust. They get right into your emotions. You're scared for your grandchild or other loved one. And before you know it, you're giving them money. They may bring in other characters in this scam. They may let you talk to the police that arrested them or their attorney. That they bring in other characters so you don't start questioning whether the voice really sounds like your grandchild, or the voice may sound exactly like your grandchild. New technology means that it only takes three seconds of audio to be able to realistically reproduce a voice. If your grandchildren or nieces and nephews have ever posted anything to TikTok or Instagram that includes their voice, odds are a scammer can make something that sounds exactly like them. So just because it sounds like your favorite grandchild doesn't mean it is. They often call late at night because you're more disoriented, and they are using pressure tactics for you to send money before you think. And they often want you to send money in a weird way. They want you to, this is where you get people reading credit card numbers off to scammers, or gift card numbers, or wiring money, or putting money, sending money to a crypto account. And all of these things are virtually untraceable. And that's what they want. Anybody asking you to pay in a weird way, probably a scam. Protecting yourself. Privacy settings. Don't volunteer the information. Make them tell you their name. And if they say, "Oh, it's me, your favorite grandchild," well, if it is, don't ever admit to having a favorite. That's a trick all in itself. Hang up and either call your grandchild back or call their parents. If they put you in touch with law enforcement, you can call law enforcement. Don't trust caller ID. Those numbers can be faked. Don't let anybody rush you. If a problem can be fixed with money, you have time to check it out and verify the situation. They want you to get into your feelings and not think. Don't let them do it. Do not panic. And romance scams. The calling card for this type of scam is that the scammer spends time. These can be long-term scams that they to build a relationship with you before they steal your money. But they want the relationship to start fast. So they create fake social media profiles and dating site profiles. They can use computer generated images, or they just steal images of attractive people and they build those profiles to be attractive, to look ideal. And they'll have something in there that gives them an excuse why they can't meet in person. Military, impersonating military is really popular because that always gives them an out of why. Oh, we plan to meet up this weekend, but I can't. Or maybe they are a missionary, or they work with Doctors Without Borders. They'll have some reason they can't meet you in person. They move quickly. They use a technique called love bombing, where they just go over the top with compliments to make you feel good. And even when you know it's a scam, I got hit with my first romance scam this year. Even when you recognize it's a scam, I got to tell you, you still get the dopamine hit when someone tells you you're beautiful. It's wonderful, even though you know that they don't mean it and they don't know you. It still feels good. Love bombing makes you feel special. And they push you to move your communication off of whatever site, whatever platform they met you on. They do that because the platforms are scanning for people who are sending the same message to lots of people at once. They want you off of that before the site warns you about it. But once they get you off the site, if you give them you're texting or emailing with them, they'll take their time. They'll convince you that they are just exactly the perfect person for you. But here's the thing. Unless you have met a person in person, you don't know that they're really a person. They may be a whole committee of people and they're pretending they like gardening, they like ballroom, they like all the things you like. They're perfect because it's a committee, because it's not really one person. And because they spend the time building the relationship, it's even more devastating when it comes out. Eventually, they will ask you for money for some kind of expenses. Some emergencies come up. They'll start with small amounts. They may even, during the courting process, give you small gifts. That makes you feel stingy when they ask you for money and you're not willing to reciprocate because they've given you things. They may even say they want the money for plane tickets to come visit you, but don't worry, they'll come up with some reason why they can't visit you after all. At this point, so that's the most basic kind. They start asking you for money, but there's a couple of variations. One is called pig butchering, and this gets into cryptocurrency. They'll say, hey, I'm making a lot of money on this new investment. And you'll go, oh, really? What? And they'll tell you about it and offer to set you up. And they'll show you flashy websites of how you're making all of this money to get you to invest more and more and more money. And it looks like you are just making a lot until you try to take it out. And that's when you realize it was never there. It was all a fake, and they disappear with your money. Another variation is something called being a money mule. They'll ask you to move money from one account to another. You don't feel like you're giving them money, but you're moving money. Or they may even say, somebody's going to deliver a package. Can you take it somewhere for me? What you don't know is that you're helping them with money laundering, and you have committed a crime. And the fact that you didn't know you were doing it is not going to get you out of trouble. Okay, I promised you one thing you hadn't seen before. Deep fakes are all in the news, and we in Buffalo like our Buffalo Bills. This is Josh Allen, the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills. My colleague, Professor Liu, created this a couple years ago when the Bills lost out in the playoffs. And I wanted to share it with you because sometimes deep fakes can do a lot of nefarious things, but sometimes they can do fun things. Let's see.
I know in a different and more real world we were beaten by the Bengals, but in this universe created by artificial intelligence, we won the game. We fought well, both on offense and defense, and dominated the Bengals at the beginning of the first quarter. We look forward to facing off the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Division Final, and we will win the Super Bowl in this universe.
All right, he created that in less than 30 minutes using tools that are available for free to anybody. And that was 2 years ago, and the tools have only gotten better. Deep fakes can be used, like I said, three seconds of audio to reproduce a voice and make it say anything they need it to say. You can also, they're starting to make deep fakes that are like a digital mask. So one of the things we used to be able to tell people is that for like romance scams or grandparent scams, they won't do a video call because then you'll see that they don't look like their profile picture or they don't look like your grandchild. Now they can create a deep fake mask where they can do a real person. It'll say what the real person is saying, but it looks like whatever picture they want it to be, and they look really realistic. My point being, you can never be sure. At this point, telling you how to spot deep fakes would be counterproductive because then you might get overconfident that you can spot them. Seeing is no longer believing. You have to check everything out. And the holidays it's sad to think, but we're coming up on the holidays. The holidays are a great time. You get together with family to talk about different types of scams and how to protect yourselves. Your family members need this too. It's not just all these ideas are not just good for older adults, they're good for everybody. I would like to leave you with a little bit of a challenge of talk to your family about specifically grandparent scams. Use me as the reason to open that conversation. If you're not sure, how do I get that started? Use this webinar. Hey, I just saw this webinar and it got me to thinking we need a plan in case there's a real emergency. Like there's a hurricane barreling down on Florida right now, and scammers love to take advantage of natural disasters. If there is a real emergency, how are we going to tell that we are who we say we are? How are we going to know that we're helping family and not scammers? And figure out something. Maybe you have a code word. Maybe you have some agreed upon fact that you agree nobody's going to post to social media. But talk about it. Come up with a plan so that you can help the ones you love, but not get scammed.
I know in a
Sorry, went over. These are a couple of our tools. If you want to learn more, this is our website. The URL will take you there. Join our mailing list. I'll be happy to answer any questions. And I'm sorry I ran late. I'm happy to stay a little longer and take Q&A if that doesn't mess up the program. But I will defer to the organizers on that point.
Yeah, sure. We could stay on a couple extra minutes if there's any questions.
All right. I guess post questions in the chat. And if anybody's still here, there we go. Let's see. Yes, Venmo, PayPal. Yeah, it's hard to make sure. So somebody says make sure that it's really the person or organization you intend to send the money to. Fake charities are a big problem that you don't know where the money is going. There are advantages to using some of these things rather than putting your credit card information in a lot of mom and pop small websites that may not have the best security. But on the other hand, just my personal opinion, I won't buy from somebody who only takes PayPal or Venmo, because it's impossible to get. It can be very, very difficult to get your money back. And will the recording be posted? I don't know that they did record. Well, no, they're recording it, so it'll be posted someplace. Yes, it would be posted later today. If people would like, I do have a list of tips, and that if anybody wants that table on how fast people can hack your passwords, I've got that too. Let's see. Well, thank you all so much for your attention and for joining us today. And to say, if you want more information about our solutions, please come to dartcollective.net. The .net is important. Think net like we're catching the scammers, because dartcollective.com is a DJ in Los Angeles. So he's fun too, but in a totally different way. All right. Thank you, and have a lovely day.
Great. Thank you, Cynthia, for a great webinar, and thank you everybody for attending.